Ladies and gentlemen, welcome at the Cradle to Cradle ExpoLAB. Some of you have been here for a little bit longer already. For the new people, welcome at the ExpoLAB this afternoon. I think we have a very nice program. I'm really proud here to present Douglas Mulhall. He has been the writer of many articles and publications on Cradle to Cradle, and he has done that from his role of being one of the almost founders, I would say, of Cradle to Cradle. So I think we will have a very inspiring session ahead of us for this afternoon. So Tanja, again, thank you for arranging all of this. Douglas, thank you for being present here and sharing this with us. And I'd like to say enjoy it. Thank you.
Bjorn, thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you to Tanja for organizing this. And this is being videotaped, so be careful when you ask awkward questions. And also, I have to stay in the screen. But if I'm okay over here, we'll have to see that. First of all, before we start, I want to tell you about a new publication. And the reason I'm telling you about this particular publication is to give you an indication of the influence that Cradle to Cradle is having internationally, just to set the stage. So this publication is here, and I'm going to be showing it on the screen in a little minute. But it's called Towards the Circular Economy, Accelerating the Scale-Up Across Global Supply Chains. Now, for the past 3 years, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and McKinsey and Partners have been doing publications with similar names. But the difference is that this year, at the World Economic Forum at Davos, the World Economic Forum put its name on this. So this publication comes from the World Economic Forum at Davos. And if you turn to some of the first pages, you will see the citation of the cradle-to-cradle material flows, which are described as the basis for the circular economy. What this means is that for the first time, one of the most influential business associations internationally has bought into the idea that materials are a business case. That's what this means. And it's based on cradle-to-cradle material flows. So this has brought us to a completely new level with the influence of cradle-to-cradle. And just to give you an example of some of the companies that are involved, Feike Sibesma and Frans van Houten are both leading this initiative, which is called Project Mainstream. So we have 2 Dutch companies, and as well Desso is very much involved. So isn't it interesting that the companies that are leading Project Mainstream on the circular economy happen to be the same companies that are working on Cradle to Cradle? This is not a coincidence. What it means is that the companies that are the front runners in the circular economy are the ones that have the training and the experience and the practical products coming out of the cradle-to-cradle design protocol. So this means really that in the last 6 months it's reached a completely new level. Just to give you an introduction, and by the way, you can download this at the World Economic Forum website. You just search for the name and you can have it. So, what I would like to do today is I would like to give you some examples of products which use innovative industrial design and materials to generate revenues for companies and generate benefits for consumers. So that's really what the focus of the presentation is today. And I want to also just start by saying I will have to go back and forth between the presentation and the videos because for some reason the embedded videos, as usual, didn't work. So you'll have to excuse me for going back and forth a bit. And I'm actually going to start with this right now, so we'll see what happens. So the first video that I'm going to show you is about the new product line that was launched by Puma last year based on Cradle to Cradle. And here it is.
There was a time when we were going round in circles, looking for better ways to lower our environmental footprint. Then we discovered a smart process created by the Cradle to Cradle Products Innovation Institute. They showed us how going round in circles can be a good thing. You see, circles have no beginning and no end. They just keep on going in a continuous cycle. Suddenly, we were inspired to start looking at our product life cycles in a whole new light. Introducing Puma InCycle. Puma InCycle is the industry's first cradle-to-cradle certified collection of recyclable and biodegradable clothes, accessories and shoes. It's one of the most efficient ways to be sustainable, as it takes into account the whole life cycle and supply chain of a product. The whole InCycle range can be broken down using one of two clever processes: the biological cycle or the technical cycle. Let's see how these two cycles work using these tasty Puma baskets and this stylish T7 track jacket. Both products are manufactured in one of our supplier factories using improved sustainable materials and production processes. They are then shipped to a Puma or partner store, where they're bought by customers and taken home. What happens to them after that? None of our business. They might cruise around town, embark on an adventure, get taken on a relaxing weekend away, or led to a friend. Finally, when the sneakers are on their last legs and the jacket is hanging on by a thread, these clever products are ready for the next stage of the cycle. There are now Puma bring-back bins in many of our stores, designed to collect all used and unwanted products. When the bin is emptied, it's time for the sneakers and jacket to go their separate ways. The sneakers enter the biological cycle and are put into an industrial composting process to decompose, a bit like what happened to your pet fish Colin, but on a much larger scale. In the compost, there are billions of microorganisms waiting eagerly to munch on the sneakers. This process can take up to 6 months. While we wait, let's see what happens to the jacket when it joins the technical cycle. The jacket is shredded and sorted into its raw materials by a machine designed specially to break down clothes. Some of these materials are then melted down to make polyester pellets. The pellets are then taken to factories where they can be made into other useful products. And so the technical cycle is ready to start over again. Now, let's go back and see how the microorganisms are getting on with the sneakers. By now, they have been fully digested and become biological nutrients. Thank you, microorganisms. These nutrients can now be used to help grow valuable resources such as cotton, used to make new products. And so the biological cycle is also ready to start over. So, let's have a round of applause for the Puma InCycle collection, where all products are recyclable or biodegradable, waste and landfill are kept to a minimum, and our planet's valuable resources are used again and again. Here's to going round in circles.
So, Puma got a lot of things right. You know, they got the story right, they got the processes right, they redesigned the ingredients in their materials, and they got that right. They did a really tremendous job. But if you compare what Puma did compared to what Desso did, they actually started at different ends of the spectrum. What Desso did was they actually announced their intentions to develop a new approach, and they invited their customers to join them before they had even optimized a single thing in their product. And what that meant was, hi.
Sorry.
That's okay. What that meant was that Desso actually started grabbing market share before they had started optimizing their products. So the declaration of their intention and inviting their customers to join them actually generated extra business for the company, which allowed them to move to cradle as they were still moving their existing products out the door. Because you don't have to be perfect. Puma did it the other way around. Puma said, no, we're not going to make any claims until we actually do the product. So the result of that was that they had to make a fairly substantial investment before they could actually show a result. And in the meantime, they changed chief executives twice. So every time a new CEO came in, the question was, okay, what is this, why are we doing this, and why are we spending this money? Now, did you hear at the beginning where it said a positive paw print? Wouldn't that be a great marketing slogan to have on the running shoe sitting in the store to distinguish it from all the other running shoes in the store? Your positive paw print. But the marketing people were not participating in the original development of the approach. So the positive paw print, as of yet, and it may yet still, but as of yet, has not made it into the retail outlets to go along with Puma. So, this points out a very important thing to pay attention to, and that is, at the beginning of Cradle to Cradle, it's important to use your messaging along with your technology. And this is what we always do. In Cradle to Cradle, the first thing we start with is we start by asking, what is the product or process intended to do for the user or the customer? That's the very first question so we don't ask, why are we trying to minimize our impact on the environment, or all of these other questions. The first question we ask is, what is the benefit for the user? And that allows you to develop your idea and your message right from the start. So it's the combination of, from a commercial point of view, it's the combination of marketing and product development. From the governmental point of view, it's the combination of communicating to your electorate or to your stakeholders and actually walking the talk. So that's why I brought up this example in the very beginning, where you have an example of a company that is really doing everything right. There's no question about it, but because of circumstances like changes of CEOs and the lack of connection between marketing and the technical people, it hasn't quite yet made it into benefiting the company from a marketing point of view. Although you can tell that they're telling the right story. They just need to add a little bit. So that's why I wanted to just give you that example, because this is one of the most current ones in the marketplace, and I'm sure that if the Puma people see this video, they'll go, what's he saying? So that's why I just want to emphasize they're doing a lot of things right, and now we're hoping that they're going to translate that into their marketing message.